So Bibi Netanyahu has arrived in the United States. And tomorrow he is going to address Congress, and today he's addressed AIPAC, where he pretty much came out and was just like, hey, there's no big deal. Everything is okay. I respect President Obama, and this is just about Iran. So Bibi's here. And what's very interesting about Bibi is that there is an arrogance, and we're going to get to the sound in a second, but it also just seems to me that he really does not understand the new political environment of the United States that he's dealing with. He doesn't get it. He thinks, all right, well, a few people are offended, whatever. I'm the Israeli prime minister. I'm all good. People are going to fall into line, period. And that's his speech at AIPAC, where he's just gone out and basically just said, look, our alliance is sound. Our friendship is strong. I respect the president. I respect his office. And then back to the Iran talking points. But we've seen over the last week, we've seen 30 members of Congress, 30 Democrats in Congress say they're not going to attend Bibi's speech. We've seen Susan Rice and John Kerry publicly criticize Bibi in ways that are certainly unprecedented in this administration, although Bibi has always frustrated American administrations. The Clinton administration, and Bill Clinton actually was quite happy that his political team back in the late 90s, James Carville, Stan Greenberg, went up to Israel to help Ehud Barak beat Bibi in an election. And Clinton clearly was not displeased about that. But at any rate, it is surprising to hear sound like this. Diane Feinstein, who, as we all know, is a center-right, conservative, very hawkish Democrat, staunch supporter of Israel. And it's really interesting, this sound, because it's not just what she's saying, but I think that there's some real feeling in this. There's a feeling about a certain sense of being aggrieved by Bibi. I'm going to explain why this sound matters, and then I'm going to explain what Bibi wants out of constantly harping on Iran, and if there could be a bigger fallout from this. But let's listen to Diane Feinstein. She's on CNN talking to Dana Bash, and let's listen to what she had to say.
To ask you one more question about the Israeli Prime Minister's speech. You are a Jewish American. You are a Democratic senator, so you have a lot of different sort of personal constituencies, if you will. When Netanyahu says he's coming to speak, he says he speaks for all Jews.
I don't understand what she means by Jewish and Democratic being different constituencies. Those are actually highly overlapping constituencies. Jews vote very highly Democratic. Very weird way of phrasing that question. Just wanted to note that. Go ahead.
Speaks for all Jews. Does he speak for you?
No, he doesn't speak for me on this. He doesn't at all speak.
Does that bother you when he says he speaks for all Jews?
Yeah, I think it's a rather arrogant statement. I think the Jewish community is like any other community. There are different points of view. So I think that arrogance does not befit Israel, candidly. I think Israel is a nation that needs to be protected, that needs to stand free, that hopefully can work constructively with Palestinians to have a side-by-side state.
Well, I think that that's a really interesting comment. I mean, one, Bibi's always had the reputation of being incredibly arrogant, and he is obviously incredibly arrogant. It's incredibly different for a conservative, Democrat, Jewish U.S. senator who's an incredibly strong supporter of Israel to say that so bluntly and so publicly. And then also attach this conversation to the Palestinian issue, because one of the fascinating things about this fallout has been the policy mechanism that has driven this is Iran. And the Obama administration is obviously 100% committed to cutting this deal with Iran. And I think that they've brought a lot of Democrats, including Diane Feinstein, with them. Now, this Iran deal would be an amazing accomplishment of the administration, an amazing accomplishment of Barack Obama and John Kerry, and it would pay dividends across the region and for the United States for decades. I mean, this is a very significant thing. And Bibi has gone out of his way to destroy and his allies, the United States, have gone out of his way to destroy this deal, along, it should be mentioned, with the Saudis. So the policy mechanism is Iran, and we are at clear loggerheads with Bibi. And then there's this other component where the Netanyahu government has just been stunningly disrespectful to President Obama, and stunningly disrespectful to Secretary Kerry, and stunningly disrespectful to Vice President Biden, to the point where, even as this administration really has not held Israel accountable for pretty much anything. I mean, this is over the last several years when, of course, settlements have continued unabated. We've seen operations in Gaza that have had incredible, stunning civilian tolls on the Palestinian population, and we've seen no real movement on that issue at all. But that's the interesting part of this conversation, and I thought that she brought in the Palestinian issue as important because really nobody's been talking about that. People have been talking about Netanyahu detonating the relationship between the United States and Israel, which has become a major issue in this Israeli campaign, with former, head of the Mossad coming out and saying Netanyahu needs to lose because he is seriously jeopardizing Israel's prime alliance. And with regard to Iran, where this is a major, major, major deal that he's trying to scuttle. I've said many times, Iran is the smokescreen for Netanyahu for everything. And it may be, by the way, it might be a very sincere conviction he has. He might have an apocalyptic fear about Iran. But we all know he uses Iran to distract from everything from settlement construction to him and his wife's own, dubious use of state expense accounts. So the next question is how does the Palestinian issue and a final, some type of settlement on that's actually durable and actually works for both sides, how does this get brought into the conversation? Because we have the bilateral relationship and we have the Iran piece, but the center of gravity of what doesn't work around present Israeli policy and our relationship is the absolute refusal to do anything for real on Palestine, to meet any of the international obligations on Palestine. And, we can go back and forth all day, and I make no apologies about loathing Hamas. It absolutely engages in some terrorism, of course, has in the past, about, the PA having problems with corruption and problematic internal politics. But this is a fundamentally asymmetric situation, okay? Like, Israel and Palestine is like LeBron playing pickup basketball against Sam Cedar. These are not equivalent powers, okay? It's a ludicrous conversation to talk about two equal stakeholders. So this controversy needs to get turned into a shift to a genuine, smart and neutral policy on Israel-Palestine. That's essential for the United States, and it's also essential for Israelis and Palestinians, and for bringing down the entire temperature in the region. It's interesting that Diane Feinstein brought up that variable in her sound.